So today I want to go over some massive buffs coming to Diablo 4 when it comes to leveling up your glyphs. And not only are we getting massively buffed experience for leveling those glyphs, but we're also going to be getting the Abattoir of Zir, which is going to completely change the way you level up your glyphs in the rest of Season 2. Now the first part of this is going to be massively increased glyph experience just for completing Nightmare Dungeons once this patch goes live, which is on the 5th. So tiers 1 to 17 will have no change, but once you get above 17, you'll start to be getting a lot more experience than you were before. And we got specific glyph experience amounts at certain tiers. So at tier 30, the experience is going from 66 to 79, which is around a 20% increase. At tier 50, it's going from 106 to 139, which is a 30% increase. At tier 75, it's going from 156 to 239, which is around a 50% increase. And then at tier 100, it's going from 206 to 339, which is a 60% increase. So doing basically any of the higher tier dungeons, which are all primarily in World Tier 4, is just going to be giving you a lot more glyph experience, which is going to overall be a massive buff. But once this patch goes live, this is not going to be the main way you're farming glyph experience, at least once you get to level 100 and have completed the season journey. Because with this patch, we're also getting the new endgame content, the Abattoir of Zir, which is basically rifts or greater rifts from Diablo 3. And I'm going to have a full video going over everything we know about that system before it's released, so subscribe for that. But the system is basically time dungeons. You have 10 minutes to defeat enough enemies to get to the boss and defeat the boss at the end. And once you do that, you've completed it. These Abattoirs of Zir will have tier 1 to tier 25, but they're going to be much more difficult than Nightmare Dungeons, and they're going to scale much more than Nightmare Dungeons. So say if you're in a Nightmare Dungeon 67, you go up to 68, there's almost no change. Abattoir of Zir going from 1 to 2 is a substantial increase, and level 1 of the Abattoir of Zir is the equivalent of Nightmare Dungeon 104 if you could do that. So they're going to be built for level 100 characters. You have to complete the season journey, and they're going to be incredibly difficult. Now where glyph leveling comes into play is the sheer amount of glyph experience you're going to be getting for completing even just level 1 of the Abattoir of Zir, because you're going to get 1000 glyph experience for completing tier 1 of the Abattoir of Zir. You only have 10 minutes, so even if you took all that 10 minutes, that 1000 experience is still much more than you can earn doing Nightmare 100 dungeons, because you'd have to do 3 tier 100 Nightmare dungeons to get the same amount of experience of 1 Abattoir of Zir, and I don't think you're completing 3 tier 100 dungeons in 10 minutes or less. And if you're fast and if you're really geared for the first level of this, you could do it much quicker than 10 minutes. Now, one of the big reasons you're actually getting this much glyph experience is because they're also going to be adding the first unique glyph into the game called the Tears of Blood, and it's going to start at radius 4. You're going to be able to increase it to radius 5 once you get this glyph to level 50, and this glyph is also just going to give you some ridiculous stats, but this glyph is also going to be able to be leveled up like 200 times. So you need a massive amount of experience to continue to level up this Tears of Blood, but you're still going to be able to use this glyph experience at the end of these Abattoir runs to level up your normal glyphs. So if you're, say, a level 100 character and you don't have all of your glyphs leveled up, which I currently don't, the best thing to do is probably wait till the 5th, go into the first Abattoir of Zir, go into level 1, see how easily you can complete it. If you can complete it even in 10 minutes, it's still going to be better than doing Nightmare Dungeons, and you're going to be able to level up your glyphs extremely quickly doing that. And you can just run tier 1 back to back. Now, a tip to go along with this is I would recommend you start saving up your sigil dust, which is the resource you use to craft Nightmare Dungeon sigils, because you're also going to need that to craft the Abattoir of Zir sigils. And we don't actually know if you're going to be getting like more Abattoir of Zir sigils in the runs, or if you're going to be getting any sigil dust. So depending on how that works out, you may still have to go run Nightmare Dungeons to get more sigil dust to continue to craft these Abattoir of Zir keys, which if that's the case, this increased glyph experience with this patch also makes a bit more sense at the higher ends, because if you're having to run those for more sigil dust, it'd be nice to get more experience. And when you're below level 100, still leveling up, you're just going to be able to progress your power much more quickly with these increased experience rates from Nightmare Dungeons. Now, I think the big takeaways from from this is I would not spend a lot of time leveling up your glyphs until this patch goes live. You're just going to be getting massively increased glyph experience from anything you do, whether it's Abattoir of Zir or Nightmare Dungeons. But if you don't have a lot of Sigil dust, it would probably be worth to go run some Nightmare Dungeons, but you're probably going to want to run them in a different way, because if you're, say, level 100 running Nightmare Dungeons right now, you're probably just trying to get to the end as quickly as possible to get that glyph experience. But if you're running for Sigil dust, you just want to do as many events and you want to kill as many of the enemies as possible because they can all drop keys. So it would probably be better to go into the Nightmare Dungeons that are best for leveling, because that has much higher mob density, complete all of the events, click all of the resplendent chests, shrines, and health fountains to get all of those events as well, which will all give you chests that can give you more sigils, that can give you more sigil dust, and will just allow you to kill more enemies that can also drop more sigils. And I think for the vast majority of players, once we get to the 5th and start doing Abattoir of Zir, basically everybody's going to be getting massively increased power even before you start using the new unique glyph, because almost nobody I've seen has all level 21 glyphs. It just takes way too long past doing everything else. Most people I've seen have just been getting them to 15 and then stop leveling them because it's just way too tedious compared to all the other pieces of content that you can better gear drops or gold drops or even potentially better experience while leveling up. So I'm very excited for the 5th to be able to just start getting massively increased power and have this new very difficult endgame content to use that new power in. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.